Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, May 7th. We're getting close to 8 o'clock. It's still light out. It's just awesome. Beautiful day. Typically, Mondays are my day off, and I got a chance to swing the golf club. It was awesome. So, first nine was really bad. Second nine went a little bit better. Got my 10,000 steps in. Hello! I wanted to tell you about our last weekend in our four parishes. It's one of the highlights of the year, and that is giving our second graders the Holy Eucharist for the first time. Our second graders celebrated their first Holy Communion after all the year of studying about it, receiving the sacrament of reconciliation, and now, yesterday and Saturday, they received their first Holy Communion. And I pray that they are given access to the right to receive the Blessed Sacrament every week at Sunday Mass. It's their right. I hope our parents give them what is their due. As children have a right to receive food, water, health care, education, they even more have a right to receive the Blessed Sacrament in Holy Communion and to be able to receive Jesus. So I want to share what I shared in the homily this last weekend. Here's what I shared with the second graders and the folks that celebrated with them. There is a big difference between kindergartners and second graders, and here's how it comes about. When I was in kindergarten, I went into the backyard of my home, and the whole backyard was filled with these yellow flowers. And I'm thinking, I love my mom. I want to show her how much I love her. So I went out into the backyard and I took the flowers and I took 2 handfuls and I went into the house and I said, I love you, Mom. Here are some flowers. And my mom went like, thanks. I appreciate that. And she took the flowers, put them in 2 glasses of water and put them on the kitchen table. They were dandelions. They weren't flowers. The only thing they're good for is making really sweet wine. But a couple years later, when I was in second grade, I started to notice that my dad liked to comb his hair at the end of the night, especially with a brush, because it would soothe and massage his scalp after a long day at work. And if I would comb his hair for him, I would get a chance to sit in his chair. So every night when I was in second grade, third grade, fourth grade, I would comb my dad's hair. I would sit behind him, he would sit on the ground, and I would do that. But then when I got to 5th grade, I'm like, Dad, this is a little bit weird. And my dad said, don't stop. I love it when you comb my hair. The reason why I mention those 2 stories is because they bring up a distinction in life. Sometimes we think we know how to love a person, in other words, how to please them. And then there are moments when we love them by actually pleasing them. Today in the Gospel, Jesus says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And my Father will love them, and we will make our dwelling with them. No greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. Love one another as I love you. There's a commandment that Jesus gave that is short. It's not part of the 10 Commandments, but it's one of the most important commandments that he ever gave us. On the night before he died, Jesus took bread and said, this is my body. Then he took wine and he said, this is my blood. And then he said, do this in memory of me. And in our Catholic faith, we have taken that command quite literally. And every time we gather as Catholics on Sunday, we take bread, we take wine, we say the words of Jesus, and Jesus outdoes our generosity to him by giving us his very self, body and blood, soul and divinity. So if you want to love Jesus the way he wants to be loved, then go to Mass. Celebrate the Eucharist. Receive Holy Communion worthily. Please God by loving his commandments. Please God by following his way. Please God by being a faithful Catholic. Let's say we would stop and look at our diets and say, hey, I'm going to eat McDonald's all the time. There's the famous documentary, Super Size Me. If we do that and eat food that we do ultimately do not like in the long run, it's going to give us heartache, heartburn, and a heart attack. But if we eat healthy food, nourishing food, food that restores our bodies to health, then that's going to give us more energy. It's going to give us more focus. It's going to make our bodies actually work even better. That's the second way of looking at the Eucharist. The first reason why we celebrate the Eucharist is because we want to please and love God. And the way to love and to please God is to do what He asks us to do. Do this in memory of Him. But the second way of looking at the Eucharist is that if we want to be filled with God, God has to fill us with His food. And His food of His Son's body and blood is what gives us the energy to love, the resiliency to endure suffering, the perseverance to live the faith, the ability to do the right thing, to be filled with the faith, hope, and love of God. And it's by receiving sacramentally Jesus' body and blood, soul, and divinity, which then opens up the whole Christian life. We cannot please God by ourselves. We need God's help in order to please Him. That's why Jesus gives us the means and the way to please Him, to thank Him, to worship Him. Then He in turn gives us Himself. And that's why it is the greatest thing to be a Catholic, to be able to receive that most holy sacrament of the Eucharist, to be filled with God, so that we in turn can live like God and share God with others. Remember, what does it say at the end of Mass? Go forth, the Mass is ended. Go and announce the gospel of the Lord. Go in peace, glorifying God by your life. It's for the sake of others. That's why we receive the Eucharist. So I pray for our second graders. They were so excited to receive Holy Communion. I pray that their enthusiasm, their excitement, and their joy may rub on us, that we may never take for granted the Eucharist, and may live it, celebrate it, and receive this Jesus' body and blood so that we can share that with others. Thanks for listening. Hope this helps you in your walk with the Lord. This week, on Wednesday, we're having our next Faith for a Lifetime. It's going to be on May 9th. We're going to begin at 6 p.m. Adoration in St. Al's in Kelmer. Then a 7 o'clock session at 7 o'clock on the Pope's new document on holiness. Do you think it's possible to be holy? Many people don't. But I'm telling you, God does think it is possible. And so does Pope Francis, and so do I. So let's look at that question. What is the greatest joy in life to be? To be a saint. What is the greatest sadness in life? Not to be a saint. So let's look at that together as we study our faith and grow in the likeness and the mind of Christ. May God bless all the second graders and their families. If you want to show up with your suit and your beautiful dress this weekend, please do. It'd be great to see you dressed up again. God bless you.